Inner City Crusaders proudly presents the Pro-Civil Defense Program. Hi, my name is Paris Black, and I'm founder and president of the Inner City Crusaders. The Inner City Crusaders is a non-profit, tax-exempt, conservative Christian organization that caters to the spiritual needs of all Americans. The general mission of the Inner City Crusaders is to install a conservative gospel into the inner cities, to instill parish prophecies into the inner cities, and to implement conservative Christian values back into the inner cities. The genesis of the Pro-Civil Defense Program began in the winter of 2005 when I had several premonitions that showed me mostly black people rioting inside an American city. Now later I come to believe that my premonitions about black rioters had come to pass in the summer of 2005 when Hurricane Katrina came ashore in New Orleans. The reason why I thought my riot premonition had come to pass is because the news media in the summer 2005 showed mostly black people rioting inside an American city called New Orleans. Then after the Katrina incident had blown over, I began to assume I will no longer have any more dreams about rioters, since I believe my first set of riot dreams were fulfilled through Hurricane Katrina. Then some months after Hurricane Katrina, and without any warning, I started to receive new premonitions, which once again showed me mostly black people rioting inside an American city. But this time around, most of the black rioters I've seen in my new premonitions were stationed in Brooklyn, New York. And I also noticed that most of my new riot dreams were centered around earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, radiological attacks, nuclear/EMP exchanges, chemical disaster, and bioterrorism. In the latter half of 2007, I felt led by God to put together a program that will help people prepare for some of the coming disasters I foreseen. So in January 2008, I set out to do preliminary work on the construction of this preparedness program. Then one of the first things I done for this new preparedness program was to come up with a good name for it. After I fumbled through several names for the ICC preparedness program, I finally settled upon a name for this particular program. I came up with the name Pro-Civil Defense. The reason why I came up with the name Pro-Civil Defense is because the word pro means to stand for, the word civil means not of the military, and the word defense means to protect oneself from harm. Then after I found a name for the ICC preparedness program, I began to investigate which governmental agency in America is instructing the public in emergency readiness. Then I found that the federal government, through its FEMA, Homeland Security, and CDC agency, are readying the public for almost every kind of disasters. Then I found that New York State, through its CMO agency, is readying the public for almost every type of disasters. And I also found that the City of New York, through its OEM agency, is readying the public for almost every imaginable disasters. Then I decided to find out how Brooklyn elected officials are preparing their constituents with emergency readiness. So I checked many Brooklyn elected official websites, and to my surprise, I discovered that nearly all of Brooklyn elected official websites I visited had no kind of contingency plan for the people they represented here in Brooklyn. Then after I found that most of Brooklyn elected representatives had no contingency plan for their constituents, I began to realize why I felt led by God to make the ICC Pro-Civil Defense Program, so that the people in Brooklyn and people elsewhere would not have to end up dead like some of New Orleans residents, because their elected officials did not properly train their citizens for disasters such as Hurricane Katrina, or because most of the citizens of New Orleans did not have a contingency plan of their own. The ICC will try our very best in instructing the people in Brooklyn and people in other communities in disaster preparedness. I've had many premonitions about coming calamities, but I will just focus on 6 premonitions that I believe the public can prepare for. And the 6 premonitions I've included into this Pro-Civil Defense are about earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, radiological attacks, nuclear/EMP exchanges, chemical disaster, and bioterrorism. This program will begin with the number 6, and the number 6 is a premonition that I believe will not happen anytime soon. To the number one, and the number one is a premonition that I believe can happen anytime soon. I will use some of FEMA, Homeland Security, CMO, OEM, and NYCDH emergency readiness documents to help instruct people in how one can prepare himself or herself for a natural emergency. Most of the emergency readiness documents I will use from these agencies are quite redundant or repetitive. I feel that I need to use these redundant emergency readiness documents because I sincerely feel that an individual can learn quickly about this pro-civil defense program through repetition. At the end of this pro-civil defense program, the agency will give out a short list that contains a police precinct, a fire department, and a hospital. The agency will use this short list as an example pertaining to what an individual or family member should have listed with them during time of a natural emergency. Because I truly feel that what I've seen coming will persuade most people not to return home, and the next best place than home, in my opinion, is to go to a police precinct, a fire department, and a hospital for help and for emotional support. This pro-civil defense program is divided into two discs. Disc A is approximately 60 minutes, and Disc B is also approximately 60 minutes. Disc A prepares individuals to survive an earthquake, volcanic eruption, and a radiological attack. Disc B prepares people to withstand a nuclear/EMP exchange, chemical disaster, and bioterrorism. Now, before we delve into the ICC Pro-Civil Defense Program, I would first like to give out some brief information on FEMA, Homeland Security, CDC, CMO, OEM, and NYCDH origins. Let us start with the origin of FEMA. FEMA was created in 1979, and FEMA means Federal Emergency Management Agency of the United States that helps anticipate, prepare for, and respond to disaster and major civil emergencies. Homeland Security was formed in November 25, 2002. Commonly known in the United States as Homeland Security, is a cabinet department of the United States federal government with the responsibility of protecting the territory of the United States from terrorist attacks and responding to national disaster. CDC is Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Center for Disease Control and Prevention was established in July 1, 1946. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention conducts research into the origin and occurrence of diseases and develops methods for their control and prevention. CMO was founded in 1978, and CMO means State Emergency Management Office. The mission of New York State Emergency Management Office is to protect the lives and property of the citizens of New York State from threats posed by natural or man-made events. OEM was established in 1996, and OEM means Office of Emergency Management. OEM plans and prepare for emergencies, educate the public about preparedness, coordinate emergency response and recovery, and collect and disseminate emergency information. And NYCDH, also known as New York City Department of Hygiene, was established in 1805. New York City Department of Hygiene mission is to protect and promote the health of New Yorkers. Now, without any more delay, please allow me to instruct you through these governmental preparedness documents and how one can best survive these 6 premonitions that I have dreamt about. Number 6 is about